A former priest has pleaded guilty to having sex in a church sanctuary, a case that stunned parishioners.
Today we are discussing Travis Clark, a former priest who was charged and convicted of the felony crime of obscenity for his part in forming an unholy trinity on the altar of St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in Louisiana. On September 30th, 2020, police received a call from a man in Pearl River, Louisiana, regarding 3 people engaging in 3-way adult activities in a church. The unidentified caller was a passerby who just happened upon the incident. He was walking by the church and saw the lights on after hours. He became curious and peeked through the window of the church. And then he saw it. Father Travis, partially dressed in his priestly attire, having relations with 2 women dressed in corsets and wearing high-heeled boots, and going at it on top of the altar. The man witnessing this unholy affair recorded the illicit acts with his phone before calling the cops. The man surrendered the video evidence to the police when they arrived. I guess that's just the world we live in, where people film automatically before acting. When the police arrived, they found the party of 3 in the act of their unholy trinity. Police discovered a cell phone and camera mounted on tripods. The trio had been recording their tribangular. The police also found that they had set up staged lighting. They put on a full-on porn event. And there was also adult sexual paraphernalia littered at the scene. So, they had toys. The police were able to determine that everything that went down was consensual, but arrested the threesome, stating that their acts were done in public view. Prosecutors and police claim that the altar can be seen from the windows and the glass door at the entry of the church. All 3 were charged with felony obscenity. Now I'll tell you about the players in this unsanctified farce. Travis Clark, now a defrocked priest, was ordained by the Catholic Church in 2013 and joined St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in 2019. He wasn't there long before the incident occurred. The 2 women are dominatrices. First up is Melissa Ching, aka Empress Ming, from Georgia. And next we have Mindy Dixon from Washington. Both women were released on $25,000 bail. I couldn't find any social media for Melissa, but I did find one for Mindy, aka Lady V. She has a very prominent presence on social media. So here's what I found out about Mindy, aka Lady V. She's a self-proclaimed feminist and author, as well as a dominatrix. Her book, The Heart of the Dominatrix, contains interviews with other doms detailing their experiences as a dominatrix. It also discusses the culture of BDSM and sounds quite interesting, actually. I have a picture of it if you're interested in checking it out. Lady V considers herself a Satanatrix, and I assume that is a dominatrix who is a worshiper of the Dark Lord who dwells in the world below. Lady V also has a satanic coloring book. She certainly is industrious. On September 29th, a day before the unholy event occurred, Mindy wrote on her Facebook that she was going to Louisiana to defile a house of God.
2 women were caught recording a video of themselves having sex with a Catholic priest on the sacred altar of his church in Pearl River. Mindy Dixon is an adult film actress offering her services to make dominatrix videos. She posted on September 29th that she was on her way to New Orleans to, quote, defile a house of God. The next night, Dixon, Melissa Chang, and Father Travis Clark were arrested on obscenity charges, and Dixon posted these photos that appear to be taken inside St. Peter and Paul Church in Pearl River.
I have looked for that post, and it has since been deleted. However, on October 10th, 2020, Lady V, aka Mindy, posted a statement from her attorney, and it says, "As I am not at liberty to discuss the details of an ongoing case, I will direct you to the official statement released by our attorney." So Empress Ming and Lady V are sharing an attorney. It is very regrettable that Lady V and Empress Ming are being presented to the world as criminals, when in fact they have done nothing wrong. All parties involved were consenting adults, Everything that occurred took place behind closed doors on private property, and none of the conduct alleged was criminal in nature. The fact that this involved a priest or took place in the church is completely irrelevant. The only pertinent question is if it took place in view of the public. Clearly, that is not the case. The evidence will show that an individual had to enter the church's private property and look through a window to see what was taking place. By definition, then, it was not in public view. The fact that Lady V and Empress Ming are being vilified like this is quite frankly appalling. I understand that people may be upset by the situation, but that does not make this conduct illegal or criminal in any way. I would implore anyone seeking to pass judgment to direct their energy elsewhere. Bradley Phillips, Esquire, Phillips Law, LLC. The title of Esquire, abbreviated ESQ, in America, that is a title given to attorneys. Let's get into the aftermath of this infernal affair. Many people, including the Archbishop of New Orleans, Greg Amen, found Travis Clark's behaviors unbecoming of a priest and had much to say about it. Travis was immediately removed from active ministry on October 1st, one day after the incident and his arrest. In November 2020, Archbishop Amen had the desecrated altar burned and a new one put in. He reconsecrated that new altar and the entire church. He stated that the whole event was demonic. I mean, that's going a bit far, but okay. This is funny to me considering the chain of events that will unfold after this incident. Stay tuned because it gets bad. I mean, really bad.
And when a church has been used for unholy things and it has been desecrated, we must drive away the evil spirit. And that is what we do today.
Amen blessed a new altar Saturday and welcomed a new priest to the Pearl River community. He said Travis will never be a priest again.
On July 26, 2022, both ladies pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges of institutional vandalism and got 2 years probation. The charges were reduced from felony obscenity to vandalism due to a plea agreement, where both women agreed to testify against Clark if the case ever went to trial. The same day that the women pled guilty, they were issued summonses to appear as witnesses at Clark's trial. Travis Clark pleaded guilty to felony obscenity on November 21st, 2022. 22nd Judicial District Judge Ellen Creel gave the defrocked priest a 3-year suspended sentence. Travis was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine, $8,000 in restitution to the church, and received a 3-year suspended sentence with supervised probation for 3 years. This is a pretty light sentence. Travis broke the conditions of his plea agreement, which dropped the charges of institutional vandalism, but it also included that he was not allowed to do anything, including interviews, which caused him to gain notoriety or money. On November 23rd, 2022, 2 days after he initially pleaded guilty, Travis did an interview with WDSU TV. Travis discussed the incident. When he did this interview, this then caused him to violate the stipulations of that plea agreement.
And struggling and falling, and even sinning too. That priest sinned as well.
He's no longer a man of the cloth. Travis Clark, now 2 years removed from being a Catholic priest in the New Orleans Archdiocese.
I feel relieved that it's come to some conclusion or resolution for me, that's part of it done there, that I can move on with my life.
In 2020, a parishioner at this church in Pearl River, St. Peter and Paul, witnessed Clark having sex with 2 women on the altar at the church. The women, Dominatrices, wearing costumes, using stage lighting, and videotaping the act.
Why did the incident happen on the altar at St. Peter and Paul?
There's a lot of different reasons you could think of. I mean, in that time, it was the height of the pandemic. Priests are called to a life of celibacy, so there's issues of loneliness and wanting human interaction, that sort of thing.
Clark avoided jail time after being charged with a felony for the incident. He pleaded guilty Monday afternoon and will serve 3 years supervised probation.
And this was a very specific set of facts and circumstances that is very unlikely to ever occur again.
Clark's lawyers not happy with the sentence, even though their client escaped jail time.
with what Mr. Clark did, it may have been immoral, it may have been unethical, and certainly offensive to Catholics. But what he did was not illegal. Under the law, I don't think he committed a crime. But nonetheless, in order to put this matter behind him, as he had mentioned, we had, an opportunity to do so.
The Archdiocese condemned the act and promptly removed Clark, who had been a priest since 2013. People living in that North Shore parish were left stunned. The former priest, still living in the metro New Orleans area, says he just wants to move on. No longer a man of faith, but still a believer in a higher power.
I always look to God, not man, for guidance and to trust in the faith of what they see and not the folly of humanity, but also to follow and practice the tenets of the faith they live.
Travis Clark originally pleaded guilty in November of 2022. But because he did that interview, which violated the terms of his plea agreement, the district attorney said and filed a motion that he wanted his sentence suspended. So they had a trial on January 9th, 2023, where he was then sentenced. In December of 2022, District Attorney Warren Montgomery filed a motion asking the court to revoke Clark's probation and send him to jail for the full term of his suspended sentence for the violation of the plea agreement. After the interview Clark did was discovered, he was jailed for contempt of court. He was sentenced to serve 6 months in prison. Clark's attorney, Mark Horner Jr., argued that Clark gained nothing from doing the interview, and then he also claims that Clark is autistic and did not knowingly enter into a plea agreement to waive his constitutional rights to free speech. So he's claiming he didn't understand what he signed, but I think that's kind of like bullshit because that's what you have an attorney for. Your attorney is going to explain all of this to you so that you can go into this knowingly. This is why the courts recommend that you always have a legal representative, and so they can explain the law to you, because the average citizen does not fully understand their rights and the legal terminology that comes with the law. And that is why you have a lawyer there to work as a liaison between you and the court. This incident is one of 4 to happen in the New Orleans area in the span of a month. Many of the parishioners of the church and residents in the New Orleans area called for Archbishop Amon's jurisdiction over the New Orleans Archdiocese into question.
Again, advocates for victims of priest sex abuse say that's not good enough.
We're continuing to see the situation continue to come forward, yet nothing's being done. They've given us so much to say, all right, we're bankrupt, we can put in a new altar, but they won't talk about the children that were raped.
Horrified, absolutely horrified. SNAP is here to support the parishioners here. We also are questioning his judgment. What other bad judgment does he have with minors, being the chaplain of the high school nearby?
The Archdiocese of New Orleans confirmed Travis was chaplain at Pope John Paul II High School in Slidell, but has been removed from that post. They also said there are no allegations he abused children.
Let me be clear, my sisters and brothers. There is no excuse for what took place here. It is sinful, and it is totally unacceptable.
People are calling out Archbishop Amon's ability to keep his priest in line and under control. Shortly after the Clark incident, another priest was accused of assaulting a minor.
Archbishop Greg Amond answered questions from WWL-TV in a video posted to the Archdiocese Facebook page. He acknowledged it's been a tough week.
It is a very tough time right now to be a Catholic in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, to say the least.
A week that also included our Losing Faith investigation, where 3 men say Archbishop Greg Amond failed to act for over a decade on molestation allegations against 2 priests, as well as our exclusive report that the Archdiocese had inappropriate texts from Father Patrick Watney to a Pope John Paul II high school student this year and did not inform the principal or remove Watney from the school for months.
The text did not indicate abuse, and there was no allegation of sexual abuse. I am truly, truly sorry for the pain that this has caused.
It's just obvious to us that someone needs to step in here and have some leadership.
Zach Heiner is the National Executive Director of SNAP, a group of priest abuse survivors. He said these issues needed to be exposed.
And that has started because of the work of survivors and journalists like yourself. It'll be continued by the parishioners who let their outrage known, and we're hoping that the Vatican will be listening to that.
Heiner and local SNAP leader Kevin Bourgeois sent a letter to Pope Francis claiming that Amond has, quote, lost control of his priests.
We're asking Pope Francis to send Vatican investigators to New Orleans to determine if Archbishop Amon is able.
Archbishop Amon released a statement addressing everything.
It is a very tough time right now to be a Catholic in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, to say the least. Many people feel anger, betrayal, and disappointment. And I feel the same way, as do my brother priests. What has happened concerning Pat Watney and Travis Clark is unacceptable, it's sinful, and it cannot be tolerated. Let me be clear. Both were removed from ministry immediately and will never serve again in Catholic ministry. Regarding Travis, his obscene behavior was deplorable. His desecration of the altar in the church was demonic, and I am infuriated by his actions. When the details became clear, we had the altar removed and burned. I will consecrate a new altar tomorrow. Regarding Pat Watney, when he informed us of the sexual abuse of a minor, which occurred in December 2013, I immediately moved him from ministry, reported it to civil authorities, and made a public announcement. There was no prior accusation, and we knew nothing about the abuse before October the 1st, 2020. There are questions about the texts. In February 2020, we received copies of text messages between Watney and a teenager. Though not sexual in nature, our technology policy forbids this type of communication. This was addressed and the text messages stopped. A few months later, we received a report that he had resumed texting. We asked him to resign as chaplain for violating the technology policy. Why was this not reported more widely? The text did not indicate abuse, and there was no allegation of sexual abuse. I am truly, truly sorry for the pain that this has caused. Watney was ordered to undergo a series of psychological exams and to make a 30-day retreat. At the conclusion of the psychological assessment, he admitted the sexual abuse of a minor, which took place in December 2013. We must always pray for this victim and all victims of sexual abuse. We have a strong fraternity of priests in the Archdiocese. I will meet with the priests next week to discuss this in detail. We have many good priests, and I regret that they are embarrassed by the actions of a few. Our focus as we move forward is to continue the ministry of Jesus Christ, including a strong focus on the protection of children.
People are asking for Amon to be removed from his position because of the 4 allegations of priests engaging in misconduct. The allegations range from doing the get down in the church under the watchful eyes of St. Peter and Paul to the abuses of children. And this is just getting really, really twisted and dark. And I too question his ability to lead.
What is the church doing? They're not standing behind people.
Members with the Survivors Network of those abused by priests say this is another blow to the Catholic Church. Now they're looking for leaders to be fully transparent with the public.
In no way am I surprised. I believe that the loss of control within the Catholic Church is completely gone. They're not controlling their priests. I'm sorry for the parishioners that still attend these churches, because I feel that they're being lied to as well as we're being lied to. Maybe this is our starting point, a renewal point to us to rededicate ourselves to God.
This case has spiraled into something deeper than a randy priest breaking his vow of chastity with 2 doms of legal age. I mean, yes, is it bad that Clark broke his vows? Yes, you made a vow of chastity and we're supposed to uphold our vows. However, he's still a man. And although he has taken these vows of chastity, he's not perfect. No one is. Even though he's a priest and he's supposed to display this life of dedication and devotion to a higher calling, he's not infallible. However, all of the stuff involving children, that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed immediately. To me, Amon has more energy for Travis and his 2 lady friends than the claims of abuse. It's like he had nothing for it. And I just don't get that. Yes, what he did was wrong. This is a place of worship and you shouldn't be doing the get down on the altar with the saints watching. We get it. But anything involving children, clean it up now. Take care of it. Children being harmed is always going to take precedence for me. Also, the Archdiocese of New Orleans has filed for bankruptcy, and they put in a date for when people are supposed to go in with their claims and get their settlement money for the abuses that happened at the church.
About 400 sex abuse claims. The total was calculated today following the deadline to file sex abuse claims against the Catholic Church in New Orleans. The Archdiocese says as time moves forward, it will have more of an exact number of claims.
And the Archdiocese filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy some time ago. Information regarding the sexual abuse claims remains under a court-ordered seal to protect the identity and privacy of the individuals who are making the claim.
All of this started with just one priest, and it just spun into this giant web of lies, deceit, molestation allegations, Archamen's possible ineptitude, especially when dealing with the allegations. That's all I got for you. I'm out.